diplomats in Cuba were attacked by some kind of sonic weapon that made them feel nauseous and dizzy and things like that. And it turned out that it was really just some crickets making noise, and it was all a psychological effect. They weren't actually attacked. No such weapon exists. But the Washington Post felt free to say, no such weapons exist. It is believed such a weapon has been used by Russian agents to, attack U.S. diplomats while they're in the hotel. So again, right, even stuff like, that you think should do a better job vetting sources and things like that does tend to get lopped in with, the fake news and stuff. So let's talk about that. So let me ask you guys this. What do you think makes something credible? What do you think makes a source worth listening to or reading?
If it's recent.
If it's recent, okay, great. What else?
If it has sources.
Sources, okay, great. What else?
Has statistics.
Statistics, okay, wonderful. What else? Can anyone else think of something? How about who wrote it? Right, the authority or the person behind it. If you're talking about, say, some kind of economic data, right? What if it's just some crank in his basement churning out stuff on his, well, I don't know. You guys don't have live journaling, his blog or something, right? Okay, so the person who wrote it, are they qualified to write about this? All right. What else? Can anyone think of something? We covered a lot of the good basics so far. Anyone else? Anyone else? What about bias? What if you went to a website and it said that, Joe Biden is the worst thing since pickles, right? Because pickles are horrible. I detest pickles. and so he's the worst thing since pickles. But you go to another website and it says Joe Biden is the greatest thing since grilled cheese. Grilled cheese is amazing, right? Okay. So the truth is it's probably somewhere in the middle. He's probably not the worst thing ever, but he's probably also not the best. And what a person can do is with that bias, they can cherry pick the things that are bad and they can cherry pick the things that are good and reach their conclusions from there. And the reason why they picked the things that were good is because, well, maybe they're paid by the Democratic Party or the Republican Party or the American Petroleum Institute, right? We should be allowed to drill for oil wherever we want. And the polar bears can go find someplace else to live. So again, the bias behind the source, and it could sometimes be for economic reasons, personal reasons, political reasons, religious reasons, you name it, there's always some bias in some source most of the time. Okay, so for example, let me pull something up. I'm going to pull up a site and you tell me if you think this source is credible. And let me see if I can find it here. I'm trying to find the report. There we go. That's it. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, let me share my screen. If you guys have trouble seeing the screen, let me know. I can always zoom in. All right, share screen. Oh, you gotta enable screen sharing, Professor. Okay, good to go? No, not yet. All right. All right, there we go. Share screen, lovely. All right, when I'm in the share screen mode, if you guys type anything in the chat or I don't see anything, please let me know, okay? Can you all see my screen all right? Okay, is it big enough to read, things like that? Right, thumbs up, wonderful. Okay, so here's an article, all right? Let's go through your list of our list of stuff, right, that makes something credible. First, how new is it? Okay, it comes from 2014. So at this point, it's a little old, but when it came out, it was new. Okay, so we have the currency issue dealt with. Okay, so new, check. All right, does it have sources? Here it tells you government data. And if you scroll down, you guys are going to find that, they cite specific charts, tables, things like that. So it's got sources. Okay. What else? What was one of the other things? List sources, Has statistics. Yep, you saw statistics in there. Okay. All right. One of the ones I said was the authority of the author. Here is a Stephen A. Camarota. Okay. He has, because I've done this 1,000 times now, he's got a master's degree and a PhD. Okay. Both from legitimate institutions. Okay. UPenn and UVA. Great. So we know he's an expert in this. Okay. So he's got data, he's got sources. We're going to call it new for our purposes, right? But look at the title. Okay. All employment growth since 2000 went to immigrants. So for 14 years, all employment growth went to people who were born outside of the United States. Does that seem like even a remote possibility that it could have happened? So anytime someone got hired, they were born in, Canada or Mexico or Luxembourg. Does that seem likely? You don't think one of these 17 million people was born in like New Jersey? Anybody? You just like, this isn't a bold-faced lie enough, big enough? Okay. Someone needs to say no, please. All right, great. So anyway, you can see something like this is particularly egregious just from the first sentence. But if you were to look at it, there's no crazy ads. There's no pop-ups from the MyPillow guy or George Soros or anybody. It's just like a kind of flat, boring website with lots and lots of text. All right. If you look at, the website, it ends in .org. All right. So .orgs can be good, can be bad. It depends. The thing is, though, is that like if you look, here at Center for Immigration Studies, again, kind of an innocuous title, but why is their tagline low immigration, pro-immigrant? I don't want you here, but if you're here, I'm for you. That doesn't make any sense. I don't like pickles, but if you give them to me, I'll eat them. No. Okay. So when we look at something like this, crap test. Okay. When we look at something like this, we've gone through what's known as the crap test. And if you pull up the Cal State Chico website here, you can see it. So these are kind of all of our evaluation criteria we went through. Currency, that was the first one you guys brought up. Good. Okay. Relevance. All right. That's, does it meet your needs? In this case, we'll say, yeah, it does. As our paper is on this. Authority. Good. Accuracy. Right. Here's where it falls down. It's not accurate. And the purpose of it is to be, misleading, political, ideological, and cultural for sure. Okay. So when you look at something, and it doesn't just have to apply to a website, it can apply to a movie, a TV show, a book you read, whatever it may be. You want to take this and say, okay, does it meet these criteria? And chances are, you can get through all of them and be like, this is good, this is good, this is good. But when you get to this one, right, this is where it usually affects all the other ones. Okay. A place like the Center for Immigration Studies that is clearly low immigration, even if they use statistics, they're not going to use it accurately. All right. Or they're going to cherry pick their data, which is why you want to go and you want to dig a little deeper and say, okay, what does this table actually show? Well, if you look at it, it gives you a source, right? And it says files of the current population survey. Okay. If you go to the website, right, the census website, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I forget which one he went to. But if you go and you look, you're going to see that there's tons of files. Well, which file did he use? He doesn't tell you, right? He doesn't tell you what makes someone native versus an immigrant. Okay. He said foreign born. Okay. Well, here's someone who's an immigrant. It's not necessarily the same thing. Okay. And he even says that the native numbers went down somehow. All right. So again, he's manipulating the data and the figures, not telling you specifically where to look, because he knows that either one, you're not gonna, okay, because you're on his side, and there's just more fodder to use to make your point, or you don't care because you went looking for this information and say, oh, there, it confirms it. Look, he's got data. It's current. He's an expert. All of these things. So you're not going to go and dig and find out that like he just pulled these numbers more or less out of nowhere. So my point is that when you see something online, especially, or a tweet or on Facebook, when Facebook is working, okay, you have to be like, where did they get this piece of information from? How true is this? So, you can Google Center for Immigration Study, Google this guy's name, right? Go and find the actual, government data that he selected. All right. Now, the nice part is that if you go into the database, a lot of these things have been kind of considered already for you. When you go onto, the internet, it's kind of like the wild, wild west. You're allowed to lie and make stuff up on the internet, as you can tell. So what you guys have to do is you have to determine, right, how you're going to go about vetting a piece of information. Because you don't want to, hand in a piece of paper to your professor that says, all the rubies were stolen by Italy. Okay, because that doesn't make that doesn't seem logical. All right. So, do you see what I'm getting at this? Do you understand how the crap test kind of works? That there's kind of these individual questions as well, concerns, things like that. All right, wonderful. Good. So now, like, what we're going to talk about is the boring stuff. Okay, let me pull up my PowerPoint here. Wonderful. All right, so there's me. So if you guys get lost or stuck or confused, please feel to email, call, or stop by. If you want, the library is open. Feel free to come on in, but please wear your mask. That's the only thing that we ask, is just make sure you wear your mask. And if possible, stay away from each other. Don't get too close. All right. So you guys have two speeches to do, correct? You have kind of a pet peeve speech, and then you have an informative or persuasive speech, one of those. Right. So the tips I usually give are this. Keywords. This is what we actually search for, right? What we type in. To give you an example with the pet peeve speech, all right? You say that, well, here, can someone give me an example of a pet peeve that they're going to use for their presentation?
Chewing loudly.
Chewing loudly. Okay. Now, what about the act of chewing loudly is annoying?
It's loud.
It's loud. It's the sound, right? Okay. So when you guys go and search, you can search for, chewing loudly, things like that. But you also may want to find out, like, say, information about why just certain sounds are annoying or painful to hear. Nails on a chalkboard. Okay. So that's what you want to do. It's not the act of chewing loudly. If someone was chewing, big mouth open, like Pac-Man type stuff, but they made no sound, it wouldn't be annoying. It'd be weird, but it wouldn't be annoying. Right? So it's the sound that you're interested in, okay? Popping gum, whatever it may be. It's the sound that it makes, all right? So that's one of the things you can search for, is like, sounds and annoyance or whatever it may be, okay? Sounds and annoying behaviors, all right? So that's my suggestion, is that if you search for popping gum, chewing loudly, whatever it may be, and you don't get anything, try that. Try going bigger. Well, what annoys me is the sound that it makes. Okay. So we'll get to keywords in a second. All right. As your professor said, when you go into these databases, or even if you went to like the New York Times or something online, right? That's considered a periodical. When you guys go to the databases, you're going to find two types of sources. And these all broadly fall under the category of periodical, by the way. So two types. One we call popular or general interest sources. These are things like newspapers, magazines, okay? They're popular or general interest. Your scholarly source differs from your popular source in two big important ways. First, it's written by an expert, okay? So guys like this Stephen Camarota guy with his fancy PhD that he's putting to nefarious use, okay? He will write this kind of article, all right? And then a group of his peers will review this article before it gets published. Now, if he submitted this, article saying, all the jobs went to people who were foreign born with his like terrible graph, okay, they'd be like, first of all, what, data did you use? Where did you get this? Second of all, we went and we looked and this is BS, rejected. Try again. Okay. So something like that would have gotten tossed. All right. Now, your professor says that you're required to use a periodical, so that means you can use a newspaper, a magazine, a scholarly source. It's up to you guys. For your peer-reviewed, for peer-reviewed sources, it might be hard to work it into the pet peeve speech simply because finding something like that may be difficult. But for your informative or persuasive speech, yeah, a scholarly source would be really helpful for you. Okay. All right. Any questions about what you guys are going to find in the database? All right, wonderful. Let's go and take a look in the databases and see what we can find. All right, so step one is you've got to go to the Mercer website, www.mccc.edu. Get there. Your professor's also recording this, so you can feel free to go back and rewatch it again and hear all of my lovely commentary.
Excuse
All right.
me, Mr. Calandro, before you go there, you just briefly go over the Boolean search.
Oh, sure. I was going to get to that while I was searching.
Okay, cool. Okay.
And this clear liquid is not gin or vodka, sadly. It's just water. Okay. I want to make that clear. People are like, he was drinking clear liquid on the Zoom call. All right. So we're going to go to the library website. So main Mercer website, scroll down to where it says current/returning students, and then click on library services. Okay. That'll take us to the library homepage. Our first database is right here where it's called MERSearch. And what's great about MERSearch is you can search pretty much anything you want. Multiple databases, multiple types of periodicals. Okay. So if we want, we can type in our pet peeve. So we'll do chewing loudly and see what, if anything, comes up. Now, depending on your pet peeve or your topic, okay, you may find a lot or a little, okay? It's up to you. If you find a lot, great. You find a little, that's fine too, all right? What you can do is say, narrow this down a little bit. We have 7,000 search results. That's not too bad, okay? And as you can see here too, right? See, look at the next two search results here. I don't know what this one is about. But if you look here, right, wired for sound, okay, when degree of discomfort exposed to certain sounds, you're chewing, you know, the real term for people for the anxiety, certain sounds is misophonia, okay? So like your professor said, what we can do is we can type in and, that's our Boolean operator. So and is going to tell the database, I want articles about, you know, chewing and misophonia or chewing and sound. All right. So when we do that, we're going to get fewer search results. So chewing loudly, and let's type in sound and see what comes up. See, we go down from 7,000 to 2,700. Okay. Now we can scroll through and take a look. So again, the more keyword terms we put in, the more ands we add to our search, the fewer search results we're going to get. So I'll plug in and misophonia. Ooh, I hope I spelled that right. We'll find out. Ah, there it is. Okay. See, now we're down to 71. I spelled this right? Yeah, I spelled it right. Sure. Okay. Point is, the more keyword terms you add, the fewer search results you're going to get. That's the Boolean operator and, right? When you guys actually Google something, Google actually sticks an and for you in there between words. So basically, every time you type the space bar, if you search for, you know, Mercer County Community College Library, it's sticking and between each of those words. So that's what and it does. Okay. Look at our search results. There we go. We got 71. I'm going to take this misophonia out. We'll do something with that in a minute. All right. So there we go. We now have 2,700 search results. As your professor said, if you guys want, you can select from a whole bunch of different source types, scholarly peer-reviewed, newspaper, journal, article, magazines. These all fall within the umbrella term of periodical. Okay, so you can go and you can click on one. And here we'll just do magazine, and it will show us, you know, the 500 search results. If you guys want, you can narrow down a date range. So, you know, here, this one's from 1994. So I'm no, this is from 2019. Okay. But if you had something from, say, 1994 and it wasn't super relevant, you can bump up that date slider. All right. And then finally, you can see that we use the databases to get keyword terms like that misophonia keyword term. if you look here on the left, see where it says subject terms? If we click on more, it's going to show us some additional keyword terms related to our topics. So like we can include ones like say behavior, or we scroll down here and see if there's anything else. Behavior would be good. Grandfathers, yeah, let's include grandfathers, why not? Or if we want to exclude them, we can do that as well. All right, so we can get rid of prisoners. Don't know why that's there. All right.
How about cultures?
Cultures, did I miss one? You want to include or exclude it?
Included.
Culture. Well, there's only 3 search results, so let's click it and see what happens. It's only 3. Click on culture. Okay, there we go. So yeah, I don't know what these are going to be about. Praise of vulgarity. There we go. So again, we can take a look at these and see what they say. I am, for the purposes of this session being recorded, not going to click on that one from Reason Magazine. I've clicked on stuff from Reason before, and I have been vastly underwhelmed by the things that they consider offensive. So I'm going to not click that. All right. So, but that's what you can do. You can see it brought us down to 3 search results. Okay. What did I do? Oh, okay. I want magazine. I want to get rid of that culture one. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's click on this one, wired for sound. We'll click on this one. When we do that, you can see it's asking us to log in here. We log in by using our My Mercer portal account. So the same way you log into your My Mercer portal, you log into the databases with. Okay, either click on a database, or you can see here as we searched, the login screen popped up. So first name dot last name, and then your password is your date of birth. And then go ahead and log in. And when you do that, it should take you to the article. Yep, there it is. Wonderful. Pretty much every single database interface is going to look different, but it's going to have pretty much exactly the same stuff in it. All right. So it'll have the title, it'll have the author, it'll have the source that it came from. And then if you're lucky, it'll have a nice abstract telling you very quickly what this article is about. The abstract is good because it just summarizes the article for you quickly. So you can read this and determine whether or not this article is for you. Okay. So if it's for you, great. And if not, you can skip it and move on. Okay. Look, researchers argue that this is proof for a genuine medical disorder. There you go. You can tell your professor you have misophonia and the sound of their voice is annoying. So I can't take your, I'm sorry. Okay. Don't pull that. They'll get mad. All right. And then you can see down below that here, we have the full text of the article. Now, this is a short one. It's less than 1,000 words. This looks pretty good, though. What's nice about this is, as you guys said, what makes a good source, okay? It has, well, other citations or other sources in it. It looks to experts or data or whatever it may be. Look here, in a study published in Current Biology. So if we wanted to, we could probably go and maybe try and find this particular source, particular article, okay? All right, so there we go. Now, if you want to hang on to this, I just had a student email me before that they misplaced an article they couldn't find. So if you want, make sure you either download the PDF, okay, or email the article to yourself. Send it to your Mercer account, your Gmail account, wherever you want to send it. Just make sure you get a copy of it, so I don't get emails saying I can't find the article I just found. And then, as your professor said, you have to create a works cited / bibliography. That's easy enough with the database. If you look right here, see the little button that says cite, click on it, and it will generate the citation. Now, what format are we using, Professor?
MLA.
MLA, wonderful. So all we have to do to get the MLA citation is click on the drop-down menu, scroll down, and you'll find the MLA 8th edition, and there's your citation. And you can plug this into your works cited page / bibliography. Okay. But that's it. That's what you guys have to do. So you can do the website. I'll show you the MLA website in a second. Okay. And then you can do the databases like this if you so choose. You can find magazines, newspapers, things like that. One of the suggestions I give too is sometimes it's easier to search, say on the web, you guys are more familiar with that, for, something like this, in just Google, type in, annoying sounds or something like that, and then add Washington Post, New York Times, whatever it may be. And then you can go into the database and you guys can find that New York Times article in the database. So that's kind of a workaround if you don't like searching the database. But if you search the database, you get statistics and you keep me employed. Okay. All right. Any questions, concerns? All right. Wonderful. Now, what you guys can do is a couple of things. When you go on in a semester, your first speech/paper just requires 2 sources. Okay. When you go on, you'll need more sources, I'm going to bet. So what you might want to do is a couple things. You could always go back to your list here and scroll through and see if there's anything interesting. And you can see that there's quite a few on this. All right. So go and click on one of these. You can also, if you want, use the article to help you. As we saw here, it actually said there's a study in this particular journal. Go and find that journal. Click on the person's name. Has this Tim Hanahan wrote anything else? Can you search this journal for anything else? Look on the right-hand side, right? What is misophonia and how can we treat it? Okay. And we can scroll through and look. So if you're capable of finding one article and it's good and it's helpful, that's what's so great about the database, is that you can go and find more articles just like it. Whereas with Google, you wind up in this morass of websites and stuff, and there's really sort of no curation, basically, saying here's how this article fits in with other ones, and here's how other ones fit in with it. Okay. So what you can also do too is that if you wind up looking for scholarly sources, right? This is a technical term here, this misophonia. So if I go in here and I plug this in, I bet I'm going to get a lot more peer-reviewed sources. Okay. So if I do that, yeah, you can see I've got 1,000, but look, they're all from scholarly journals. Okay. So if you want, great. Okay. You can say here, we'll type in and let's say loud chewing. What I did was I put these double quotes around the phrase loud chewing. I want to find these 2 words next to each other. All right. And if I do that, hopefully it'll find only articles that contain the phrase loud chewing. Okay. Great. Look at this. Why loud chewing sends you around the bend. So I can click on that article and here it is. Okay. There we go. What's nice about the databases is you get one good search like this, misophonia or whatever it is. You can take that search, copy and paste it into other databases and see if you guys can go and find more articles. All right. Before I do that though, any questions, concerns, things like that? All right, great. So if we want now, we can use merge search, which is great. Or we can go into, on the left here, under where it says quick links, the databases by subject. So if you want, we can go in here and we can go and find individual databases. So for example, if you want to search the New York Times, see here where it says news, you can go to the news section and there's the New York Times, there's the Wall Street Journal, even under where it says ProQuest newspapers. If we click on that, it will give us basically papers from all over the country. So we can go and see what someone else in the country has said. You'll also see that you've got a new option here that says full text. So when we search one of these subject databases, we're going to want to click full text because we need the complete article. Okay, not just the citation or abstract. We want the whole thing. All right. Can someone else give me like a pet peeve one?
Interrupting.
Interrupting. Okay, good. Interrupting. Right. Now, what do we want to know about interrupting? Right. Who's being interrupted? What's being interrupted? So this is where you can type something to be like pet peeve. You can try like speaking. You could try personal relationships. You can try classroom, right? Personal relationships. Okay. So this is where we kind of maybe want to be a little specific, right? So here I did my search. We can see we've got almost 4,000 search results. And we can take a look and see if there's anything interesting. Same thing too, if we get stuck, see where it says subject, we can click on subject. And if we click on more, can do that. And we can see we can include things, exclude things. So if there's something that we want, we can include them. Look here, women, personal relationships, families and family life, right? Let's click all of these and click on apply and see what we get. All right, and there we can scroll through and see if there's anything exciting, okay? So if we want, we can go ahead and click on these. Here, I said, honey, are you listening to me? Nah, never. Same deal, title, author, source, abstract, and we can scroll through and take a look, okay? All right. So again, too, here we were kind of specific. Last time we kind of went a little bigger. Here it looks like we can maybe try to narrow it, because if we just type in interrupting or interruption, whatever it may be, you're going to get a lot of search results. Okay. Oops, let me exclude these women and personal relationship stuff. Go away, go away. Okay, I don't know how that went down. There, right? 76,000. So we're going to want to figure out how we narrow it down, right? What's annoying about it? Who's being interrupted? What's the context? Is it your professor? Is it your spouse? Is it your stinking kids who won't shut up? Okay. All right. Any questions, concerns, things like that? All right. Wonderful. So regardless of the database you wind up in, so that was a ProQuest one. I'll take you guys quickly to another one. The general databases are good for pretty much anything. Academic Search Premier and ProQuest Central. Okay. Academic Search Premier, I'll show you this interface quickly. It's got all the same buttons and stuff. The layout's just a little bit different. So there we can plug in our interrupting keyword search. And here, see where it says full text, we've got it down here. And then we can hit search. And we'll find lots of articles on this, I'm sure. Okay. And then we can go, we can say, and spouse, see what comes up. So again, I'm trying to narrow down my keywords by making it, giving it a context. Okay. So we can go and we can see if there's anything interesting here. Let's just pretend we like this one. It doesn't look like it's good, but we're just going to look at it. So again, the title up there, the author, the source it came from. Again, here's some keyword terms which could be helpful. So, you might have one that's it's on your topic. All right. And then here's the abstract or summary. PDF over here on the left. And we saw with the other databases, it was up here on the right. Oops, let me go into one so you guys can see. So it says save as PDF, email site. So it's up here on the right. PDF's over here on the left in this case. And over here on the right, we have your email again. So again, send it to your email that you want. And then if you click on the cite button, it'll generate the citation for you. You scroll down and you'll find MLA. There it is. Okay. So again, the databases work the same exact way. Keyword terms plus that Boolean operator and to narrow down your search result. If you have a phrase interrupting conversations, right? You can put that in the double quotes to find those two words next to each other. Read the abstract. If it's good, great. Okay, if not, you just skip it and move on. And then you can download the article, email it to yourself, and grab that citation. Once you guys practice with this a little bit, you'll get the hang of it. Don't worry. It just takes practice. So the first time you do this, you're going to want to give yourself, a decent chunk of time where you guys can sit down, give it a couple of shots, get frustrated, stop, go have a Snickers or something, and then come back and give it another go. Or failing that, you give up and say, ooh, and then just email me. Either one's acceptable. First way, you get a Snickers. All right, questions, concerns, things like that. All right, wonderful. I want to point out one other database too that's going to help you with your, is it persuasive or informative, Professor?
Informative.
Informative, great, okay. So you guys may or may not have thought of that topic yet. If you haven't, that's fine. That's like future you to deal with right now. But I do want to point out one database because it's going to be recorded for posterity that may be helpful. So if you want an informative speech, right, about say any topic of the day, if you scroll down to the reference section, we have a database called maybe it's not in the reference section. Hang on, I screwed that one up. Yeah, I screwed that one up. It's under the news section. My bad. It's under the news section, and it's called Issues and Controversies. What's great about Issues and Controversies is you guys can get some good quality information about really any topic. Okay. And what's nice about this is it does three things. First, it gives you kind of some background information, right? It talks about, the Afghan war. How did it start? When did it start? What did people, what were the justifications for going? What were they not? And then it'll give you the pro and con side, right? Was it right to do it, to withdraw? Yes, no. And you can see here, right? The supporters argue, yes, it was, and no, it wasn't. Okay. How did Jon Snow wind up there? Wow, that's crazy. Look at him. All right. So if we scroll down, we can see, I'm sorry, he just looks like Jon Snow. I don't know why. We can scroll down and we can see right here some background. Allied troops left, United States troops left. Okay, here's some background. Here's a picture of Afghanistan and things like that. We can scroll through. So this gives you lots of good detailed background about how the United States kind of wound up fighting in Afghanistan in the first place. You can see here in the 80s how Ronald Reagan gave weapons to the Mujahideen to fight the Russians. Okay. And we can scroll down and we can look at that. And then we will see, wow, this is a long one. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. That's opium, by the way. That's what opium looks like in the field. Just, I want to make sure that they know, Professor. It's very important. Oh my God, come on. Where is this stuff? Woo, this is long. Wow. Where's the supporters argue? Yeah, finally. Wow, that was long. Okay, so here's the kind of sort of taking sides bit of it. Yes, we should have left. No, we shouldn't have left. And you can scroll through and you can read it. And what's also nice too is that it will give you here a bibliography where you can go and find those sources that they mentioned and find kind of just general information about it. And you can see too that they have periodicals, LA Times, Washington Post, so newspapers, Forbes magazine, Time magazine, okay, and books too. So this is like a super detailed one. This is great. Okay.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Sure.
Now, would adding a counter argument in your original argument be a good idea or a bad idea?
So two things. One, it depends. Sometimes the counter arguments are required. Sometimes they're not. I would ask your professor on that one. And then two, it depends on how much space you have, right? If you have a lot of space, then including a counter argument and rebutting it is not a bad idea, right? Especially like something this long. If you've got like 3 to 5 pages, you can't rebut a counter argument to this in 3 to 5 pages. It's not enough space. But if you got like 10 or 12, then yeah, it's probably maybe worth doing. So it all depends, is what I would say. But first, ask your professor if that's required for the paper/speech. If it is, then obviously you got to do it. If not, see the space. Okay.
Gotcha. That was just a general question. I don't believe.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad idea, but first of all, I gave you that answer because one, don't do more work than you have to, and number two, because I'm sure you guys have enough shit going on anyway. And then number two, it really just depends. For something like this, if you're trying to talk about, the United States was in Iraq for 20 years. Some of you probably weren't even born when we started this nonsense. So trying to condense that into 3 to 5 pages is not worth your time. It's not possible. I mean, look at, like this was thousands of words. This is like, chapter 1 of a 400-page book. Okay. So that's what I would say. I think though, are they going to do a persuasive speech, Professor?
No, Well,
No, okay.
their pet peeve is really persuasive.
Oh, okay. All right. So then maybe there you want to include it. It depends. I know some of the public speaking professors do, when they do the persuasive speech, want to hear that counter argument, but I would ask Professor Utley and see.
Yeah,
That was a good question, though.
we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
But they're more focused on the informative than the persuasive. They don't really, I mean, when they do their pet peeve, they don't really know all the information they need to know about persuasive. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll give you a good example here, right? This was pretty much all off the cuff. And now I've been talking for what, 45-ish minutes or so? Just to go through that first little bit about the crap test took about 5 minutes. So if you've got to fill what, how long's the informative speech have to be?
5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, so like, to give like the background of the United States in Afghanistan, if that's what you so choose, right? That's going to take a long time. So you really have to be judicious and careful with how you're doing this. And you don't want to spend time on something that's like horribly uninteresting, or people are going to be like, and I'm out. Okay. But this is great for really pretty much any topic. You can see this one's really extremely detailed. Some of the other ones are less so, but this is a really good example of one that gives lots of background info. Okay. Good question. Any other questions, concerns, things like that? No. All righty. Wonderful. Okay. So like I said, if you guys have questions, concerns, feel free to stop by the library, email, call, whatever works best for you guys. Here's my contact info, so you can get in touch with me directly. If you get really stuck, email me and say, hey, Dan, this is my topic. Can you find me some articles? And I'll send a couple to you. And if you like them, great. And if not, tell me, more of what you're looking for. We can do a Zoom, Google Hangout, whatever session like this. So we could do screen share. So whatever works for you guys, we'll be happy to help. Okay.
Thank you.
And final thing, Stephen Colbert over there has some good piece of advice for you. Don't wait until the last minute to do this. If you do, you guys really are kind of like doing two things. You have the paper you have to hand in, plus the speech that you either have to give in class and or record. Okay. And if you're like me, right now it's quiet. In about, let's see, what time did my wife text me? She texted me about 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. So in about 5 minutes, maybe, Cameron's going to come in. Cameron's my daughter. She's 3, and she's going to tear this place up. And, the phone's going to ring. Your mom's going to come in or something like that. So just make sure you guys give yourself enough time.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good tip.
All right. Are you guys sure there's no questions, no concerns, things like that? I'll have my little sip here, my last one. Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you guys for your time. If you need anything else, please let me know. And again, feel free to stop by the library, wear your mask. And I guess the final bit would be, this works for other classes too. So if you guys are in an English class, anything like that, feel free, regardless of the topic, to send us an email. We'll be happy to help you out. Okay.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Thank you guys. And if you need anything else, just let me know.
Have a
All
great
right.
evening.
Yep, you too. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Say hello to
welcome.
Karen.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank
I
you.
was stalling to see if she would come in and just go nuts, but I don't think they're going to make it. You've seen her before, right, Professor?
Yeah, she's a
Yeah.
fire starter.
I did about maybe 2-3 weeks ago. I did a legal research class, so, very serious stuff. And she came in during it. She's, Daddy, and came hustling over. It was really funny.
She's
All right.
adorable.
Yep. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Good night. Thank you
Night.
again. Okay, so we will keep this taped so that you can come back to it to review if you missed anything. I'll keep this on the recording. Okay, so your exam will be on, it will pop up 10 minutes before class starts. So 5:50, it will pop up in your week 5 folder. And you just click it on and you can take the exam. You will have 2 hours to take the exam. Now, it doesn't really take 2 hours to do the exam. In my opinion, it takes an hour to do the exam. However, I give you 2 hours to do the exam. And if you send me an accommodation letter, you get 3 hours to complete the exam. Okay. And I give you that extra time because you might have some technology glitches or might kick you off. You never know what could happen. So if that happens, then you just go get right back on. Okay, just get right back on. You have unlimited attempts for you.
Professor,
Yes.
I have a question. Does it have to be in one sitting?
Yes.
Okay. So like if I leave the screen, it will cancel that out.
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm not saying I am, I was just asking.
It's going to cut off after 2 hours. It's going to cut off.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. Unless you had an accommodation letter, and then it will cut off in 3 hours. And if you had an accommodation letter, just send me another email just to make sure. I do have them, but I just want to make sure that I have everybody listed for the accommodation.
Is the exam going to be taken during class?
Yes.
Okay.
So next week at 10 minutes to 6, click on your week 5 folder in Blackboard and you'll see it. I'm gonna also try to put an announcement on there as well. So you can either click through the announcement, click through, or just go to week 5 and click it. All right, and you can go backwards. I had a student that gave me a good argument. I used to prevent you from going backwards, but you can go backwards now to questions. And, you know, if the one thing I want to say is don't leave anything blank. And multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blank, short answer. Okay, write something in there. Because I'll give you partial credit, especially for the short answers. Essay, okay?
And I just want to, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Julissa.
I just want to confirm again. You said these are all based on the lectures we've had, correct?
Yes. Yes, all based on the lectures, open book. Okay, but remember the lectures aren't in the book, right? So you have to have looked at the lectures and taken some notes. And use the weekly agendas as your study guide. Okay? As your study guides. You'll see that stuff I have in bold and all. That's important stuff. If I covered it in class too, and I wrote stuff on the board about that's important stuff, you're going to see that again on your exam. Okay, you don't have to register with Honor Lock because it's an open book exam. So
Question.
either you know it or you don't.
How will the exam be set up? How many like multiple choice, short answers?
I think it's something like 10 multiple choice, 15 true, false, 10 matching, 10 or 15 matching, something like that. Where you have to put the definition with the word and then fill in the blank. Like I'll have a sentence and then you fill in the blank that answers that completes that sentence. And short answer. Essay. Short answer essay will be on those topics that we talked about. What do you think some of them will be about? What are some of the things we talked about?
Listening, communication.
Say again? Julissa, I didn't hear you.
Said communication and listening.
Yeah, what did we cover on there? We played a game, right? We played a couple of games, but we played a game with listening, right? The telephone game, remember that? Where it was like, what? Where'd you get that from? Right? What was that called? What did we call that? Remember? Anybody remember? It was called serial communication, right? Or chain of command. When person one, right, sends a message to person two, and person two interprets the message and then gives his or her interpretation of the message to person three and not person one's message as it existed. Right? Yeah. Any other questions? What other things you think might be on there? We talked about.
Perception.
We talked about nonverbal communication.
And what did we talk about in nonverbal communication? In class, what did we talk about? Nonverbal communication.
We talked about the functions, like what the function was, as in message reinforcer,
Right, right.
message negation,
Mhm.
message substitution, message accentuation, intensification, and the message regulation.
That's
It
right.
was the 5 functions.
We sure did. And we talked about the 7 aspects of it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, what else we talk about listening? We talked about some causes of poor listening too, didn't we? Talk about that? That probably is real important, right? Okay, so I think you see where we're going here with that, right? Any questions about your pet peeve speech assignment? What's expected of you? Everybody understands what I was saying about the preliminary, right? It's not required. If you want to submit it, you can, but you don't have to. You're not going to get any points for it or any grades for it. The 100 points you will get if you submit the full text of your speech, which is the text written out in paragraph form, word for word. Your outline, preparation outline, not a keyword outline, your preparation outline, as well as your bibliography, which are all the sources that you're going to use, not just those cited in the speech. Okay. Any questions at all? So I did want to briefly talk about interviews. Okay, and specifically, I wanted to talk about interviewing to get a job. In the lecture, we talk about interviewing for information. If you were going to interview someone and write an article about them, a story about them. But I think the one part of the interview conversation that is especially important to you will be interviewing to get a job. And there's certain steps that you need to take to nail that interview. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to develop your strategies for writing a cover letter, preparing a resume, and participating in a job interview. Okay. Okay, getting the interview. All right. What's your cover letter? And just wait a minute. Okay, so we start off number one with getting an interview. So the first thing that we're going to do is our research on the position. Research the position. You want to know something about the job requirements and about the company. Okay. Next thing you're going to do, you're going to write an effective cover letter. Write an effective cover letter. And I should make this one like this. And this is A, B. Let's see. Right? What's a cover letter? It's a short, well-written letter that expresses your interest in a particular job. Okay, a cover letter is a short, well-written letter expressing your interest in the job. You're going to focus on the employer's needs and not your own. Okay, that's why we're going to research that position and see how do we best fit in that position. All right. And this cover letter is basically your sales pitch of Why should they hire you? Why are you an asset to them? Why should they spend good money on you? What are you going to bring to the table? You want to capture the reader's attention and demonstrate your qualifications and request an interview in that letter. Okay, you talk about all how you saw the position. I'm writing to apply for the position that was posted in the Star Ledger on whatever, in the type of position. Okay, learn everything you can learn about that position and the company. All right, and then after you've got your letter together, you're going to prepare your professional resume. Now, a lot of students, especially students that just got out of college, maybe that went straight from high school to college. Okay, you're looking for a job. And you talk a lot about, you know, I was on the soccer team and I was on the debate team and but professional jobs really don't want to hear all of that stuff about you. Right? They aren't interested in that. What you have to do is figure out what were the skills that you learned that were beneficial to you by being on that soccer team, right? So perhaps you learned to work well with the group. Okay? Perhaps you were the coach and you were a team leader. You know how to, act as an effective leader. So that's what you want to do. You want to figure out what were those things that you did, because most times when you first get out of college, you don't have a lot of experience. You don't have a lot of information. So maybe you worked at McDonald's or some other job that perhaps didn't really require a whole lot of education to be at that job. But now that you have your education, you're looking for a job that will pay you more money because of your educational background, right? So yes, you're going to talk about your education, but you need to talk about the skills that you've learned in college that will make you a valuable asset to the company. All right. So remember, the resume is a summary of your skills and your accomplishments. All right. And you want to make sure that it's easy to read. It highlights your accomplishments and it's short. It's short. Like 1 page usually is what they like to see. Now, don't go Google one of these resumes online, because do you think you're going to stand out using a resume like that? How many other people do you think went on Google and downloaded an application, a template like that, right? So whatever you do, be creative to sell yourself and don't use these online resumes, because companies get hundreds, thousands of applications, and your job to land that job interview, that position, is to stand out above and beyond the rest. That's going to be your job. All right. Now, once you've done all of that, now we're ready to prepare for the interview. We've submitted our cover letter and our resume, and voila, it was so great. We got an interview. Right? We've got an interview. So now, what do we do? preparing to be interviewed. Okay. First thing we do, our homework. Research the company, as we already researched the position, okay, but we want to now find out about the company, their products, their services, all the things that this company is offering. What it is that company really is doing. So you want to do your research. Next thing you want to do is you want to prepare a list of questions. Prepare a list of questions. All right. And these questions should be about the organization and the job. Right. You want to make a list of your questions and take that with you to the interview. Okay. List of questions about the job. It could be anything that's of your interest that you want to know about. All right. You want to rehearse the interview. All right. Several days before the interview, you want to spend time outlining the job requirements and how your knowledge and skills and your experiences meet those requirements. You want to practice answering questions commonly asked in interviews. And you can look those questions up. You can look, there's information out there about that. How do your knowledge, skills, and experience meet the requirements surrounding that position? Right? The next thing you want to do is you want to dress appropriately. Dress appropriately. First impressions are lasting, so you want to be well groomed and neatly dressed. And dress for the occasion. Don't overdress, don't underdress. Okay. Dress to fit the occasion of the position. Lastly, in preparing for the interview, you want to bring supplies. I said, Professor, what do you mean? Bring supplies? What kind of supplies? Okay. You want to gather and bring extra copies of your resume. That's where you're going to have your references with you as well. Okay. Remember that list of questions I talked about earlier? You're going to have that with you. Okay. And you're going to have a paper and pen to write down and make notes. What's going on? Bring your supplies. All right, so now we've learned all about the job and created our, attacked our strategy for getting the interview. Now we're prepared, we got the interview, we prepared for the interview. Now we're actually gonna talk about the behavior during the interview once we get there. We're gonna put our best foot forward. We're going to put our best foot forward. The first thing you want to be mindful of is you want to use active listening. Use active listening. Okay. You want to work on attending, understanding, and remembering what's asked of you. And be mindful of your nonverbal behavior, especially all the cues that you may be giving off. Make them deliberate. Be mindful of what's going on. If you're someone who has habits, maybe you might play with your hair or fidget in some way, and you know that you do these things, then you want to be mindful and make certain that, you know, you're not doing them. You don't want to cause distractions like that during your interview. And you want to make good eye contact. You want to give a very strong handshake and look them directly in the eye when you speak to them. Now, some of this eye contact stuff, that could be cultural, right? You can have different things when we talk about different cultures. Some cultures don't like it when you look people in the eye. They see that as offensive. So you have to be mindful of a lot of different things, you know, when you are going for that interview. And if it is in your culture not to look people in the eye, but you're going for a job where that might not be necessary, then you probably need to practice your eye contact if you're not strong at that, because you don't want to send the wrong impression through your nonverbal communication, right? All right. Next thing, you want to think before you answer. Think before answering. You want to take a moment to consider your answer will portray your skills and your experience. Take a pause. Think about it before you say it. You want to be enthusiastic. This is key. An infectious smile can go a very long way. Okay. Can go a very long way. You want to ask? Yes.
I have a question. So with what you just said, be enthusiastic and show a smile, how would you be enthusiastic besides with your voice? How would you be enthusiastic with a mask on?
There you go, with a mask. But you can speak with your eyes.
Yeah.
And we've learned since wearing these masks how to really capture people's eye movement in determining meaning. So but your voice as well can determine your enthusiasm, your posture. Okay? All of these things are demonstrating your enthusiasm. Because if I were like this, okay, now, as opposed to me being so enthusiastic, language use. Remember we talked about that, how important language use is, certain words that you're using. Okay. And tell them, I am so enthusiastic about coming to work for this organization. I'm extremely excited. Okay. You can still display your enthusiasm with that mask on as well. But you got to practice, right? rehearse your interview. Find a friend, family member, someone who you can trust to tell you the truth, because you don't want to hear just all good things without the truth, right? We want the truth, because the truth is going to help us to stand out, to be that candidate, that one candidate for that job. One time I got a job at Temple University as a debate instructor. And I had never, ever been a debate instructor. I landed that job with little effort. I did have experience on being on a debate team in school. I did learn information about debate, but I have a lot of knowledge and information about persuasion and speech writing development, arguments, okay, which debate is all about arguments. Okay. And when I left, at the end, I already knew I had the job like through the middle of the interview. I was pretty confident that I had gotten that job. And by the end, the interviewer commented on how impressed she was with my enthusiasm and how much she could feel, okay? How much she could feel that I loved teaching students. And that was key for her. That was key for her. And when I came with my questions and pulled out that information and started, talking to her as an authoritative figure, oh, she started sitting up. She was saying to herself, oh boy, this is just not me speaking here. This person has really done their homework. This person really knows about this program, and they seem like that would be a good asset. They took the time to actually learn a lot of information about how they could help us to be successful. Okay, so you're very enthusiastic. You want to bring that list of questions out that we talked about for and ask them. Ask questions. Okay. Use those questions that you prepared ahead of time on that list, and be very mindful not to ask a question that has already been answered. So if you notice something was on your list and they talked about it already, they answered that, don't ask that question again, right? Because you'll seem like you're not attentive. Like you're not paying attention. I already asked that question. Okay. And if you have bad memory like me, old lady with a lot of stuff in the brain, cross it off your list so you don't come back and ask that question again. Yes.
I remember where I had an interview and I did have a question where they did talk about it, but I wanted to ask some more in detail of what they meant by that. And when I did, they were like, oh yeah, like we can talk about this and this and this, and then just letting me know even more of the question that I needed to be answered. That's why I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I know it might seem like I didn't hear as well or I didn't understand, but I just want to know more details about this certain topic. And then they're like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. And then they talked about it. So it's like, even though they did answer it, it's like, if you need more details on that, or even if it's, important as you make it seem, then yeah, they can and will talk about it if you need to.
Yes. But my point was, don't seem like a robot. Don't go in there because you have 10 questions, ask all 10 of the questions and they already answered 5 of them. So don't be a robot. Be mindful, be present and because all this rehearsal, right, ahead of time, you have to also remember that some of this is, you know, impromptu. Some of it's going to be impromptu. But yeah, sure, you can ask for more detail on something that you didn't understand. But you don't want to seem too uninformed. Remember, you are selling yourself, your assets, your strengths. When you leave, you want that person to say, I think she'll be able to really help me. I need her. She's going to be good. He's going to really be an asset to this company. I need her. I like them. I'm putting this over here in the right pile. All right. And ask the interviewer how well that they believe in your qualifications. Match the position and what the strengths are. And the last thing, which is very important, is you want to avoid discussing salary and benefits during the interview. So 5 things. All right. Unless they bring it up, then you can talk about it. But don't you bring up salary and benefits, because the time to talk about that is when you've already been offered the job. You're in a much better negotiating position at that time, because now you already know they want you. They're convinced you're the right person. They offered you this job. So now you're in a much better place to negotiate topics like that. Because sometimes when you start talking about salary and benefits, you can knock yourself out of the box, out of the running. But you don't want to sell yourself short either. So save all of that for when you get the job. All right. So we prepared for the interview. We got our resume together and cover letter, did all of our research, got all of our questions, made sure we were dressed appropriately. We are bringing all of our supplies with us to the interview. Once we got there, we made certain that we were active listeners and we thought before we spoke. We were enthusiastic. We asked questions. We didn't talk about salary. The interview's over. What are we going to do? The interview follow-up. So as soon as you get home, the first thing you're going to do is write a thank you letter. Write a thank you letter or note. Okay, make it brief. Thank you for the experience and re-express your interest in the job. Send that right away as soon as you get home. I would even prepare it before I went there and then tweak it once I got home and sent it. All right. Second thing you want to do is self-assess your performance. What do you think you did best? What do you think you did not so good? And how could you have made it better for the next interview? Right? And then finally, you're going to contact the interviewer for feedback. So if you haven't heard from them in a couple of days or so, you might want to call on the phone, or send a little email. Okay. Let them know again that, how interested you were, how much you enjoyed meeting them, and if they would like to offer you some feedback. On things that they thought were your strengths and your weaknesses. Any questions about this great interviewing skill? It's a deliberate, thought out practice that you need to prepare for way in advance, okay, right up to the day that you actually interview. Any questions at all? Okay, so that's it for tonight. If you don't have any other questions about the exam, I gave back most of the homework. Well, gave back all the homework that I had. I'm almost finished with the grading your speech. Well, not grading them, but commenting on your speeches. I think I might have maybe 4 left to complete. So you'll get them within the next couple of days.
When you say homework, did you mean all the sheets from last week?
The homework was the context.
Oh, okay. I have them in my notebook. I just didn't submit them because I forgot to do it because I was going to do it during class last week. But I had them all done and I just never submitted them. Can I still do that?
Sure, you can.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that now.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Anything you need me to clarify for you?
For the midterm,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Monica.
it's okay. For the midterm for Monday, it's this upcoming Monday, which is the next class. So I have a back to school night with the parents. Is it gonna be open like after class time, or just is it during class time?
During class time, because this would have been a class. The reason why we do it on class time is because you have committed to this Mondays from 6 to 8:50. So the exam is Monday from 6 to 8:50.
Okay, because the back to school night that I have with the parents is from 6:30 to 7:30. So I wanted to know if
There's no makeups in this class.
yeah, this is like I have that for my job. So I don't know if I can talk to you about making up that exam or
no makeups.
Okay.
No makeups.
Okay.
I have way too many students for that.
Okay.
So, once you commit, unless like you have some type of, emergency that you were so sick you couldn't do it, that's the only way I would even consider somebody to take the exam another time. Actually, I don't even let you take it another time. What I usually do is you'll have to do some other project. Well, you have to go with that and hope you get perfect the next time.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't I would do
Once
it.
you sign up for the class, you are committed to that time.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Any other You'll still have an hour. You'll have from between 6 and 6:30 and 7:30 and 8. So you'll have an hour. I don't think the test takes more than an hour, 10 minutes. If you know your stuff, you can.
Yeah, I was just asking because they were, they're giving me a certain time to be with the parents. So I have from the time that I'm clocked out, so like 5:30 to 6:30. So that should give me more than enough time. But I was just wondering if that could be made up or not. So if that's okay to go in a little earlier than usual and then get
You
that
could go
done.
in at 10:05. I mean 6.
Okay.
10 minutes to 6. It'll start. It'll open.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And then, like I said, you could go back to it. You could keep
Okay.
it open, or even if you close it, you could go back to it. It's not going to close until 8.
Until 8. Okay. All right. I appreciate that.
Any other questions or concerns? Recommendations I can help you with? Your communication efforts. How are things going, by the way? Have you been able to incorporate some of the things that we learned about being effective communicators? Like maybe with our loved ones at home, or extended family and friends, co-workers, other classmates, teachers, bosses at work. Everybody doing well? Are you kind of getting that light bulb turning on of what this class is about? And how a lot of this information you already do have in your wheelhouse there, but we never really quite thought about it.
So with my body language at work, especially with the kids, like now I started reading more about body language and how to deal with that in the concept of like how kids interpret body language. So sometimes I'm so used to my mom standing in front of me and talking to me with her arms crossed and like with her hips, like her hands on her hips. And for the kids, they see that as a negative connotation. So I stopped like putting my hands on my waist or like crossing my arms. Instead, I'm like more open, or I squat down to their level. I talk softer now, and they're like even more cheerful than what they were. And they're like, okay, like she's even more nicer. And I'm like, no, it's just like I'm learning how to talk to you, right? Instead of looking mean.
Right.
But yeah, it's one of the body language that I learned here.
Good. All right. Good. Okay, so I'm gonna let you go early tonight. Study hard. If you have any questions, I will be available during the test. You can email me, and I'll try to help you out. No surprises, though. So everything you've already seen before. All right, have a wonderful week, everybody. Now, see you probably in 2 weeks.
Sir,
Good night.
in 2 weeks, we have homework.
Let me see. October the 25th, your next homework assignments due. I think it's 2 documents.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Have a great night and have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.
You too.
Dasna, did you check out your computer? Is it working?
She left.
Left.
Professor, I have a question because I'm losing one in that speech.
Okay.
So for the next week, what we need to do for the speech?
For the speech, okay, so you're gonna pick a pet peeve.
Where is
Something,
that?
something that gets on your nerves and drives you bananas. Like
What is the meaning pet peeve?
pet peeve is something that occurs that annoys you. So like some people don't like people when they smack gum or they chew loudly. Some people don't like poor drivers. Some people don't like standing in line too long, getting in the wrong line at the grocery store.
So the meaning is something I don't like me.
So
Or
yeah,
disgusting
something
me?
that annoys you. A pet peeve is something that just gets under your skin, and then you tell us why. So for example, you might say, I'm annoyed by poor drivers because they waste my time, they're dangerous, and they're inconsiderate. Okay. And now these three things become your main points of why you don't like poor drivers. Why do they annoy you? Why do they get on your nerves?
Yeah.
Something that gets on your nerves. And what you're trying to do is convince us that, yeah, you're right. That does get on my nerves.
Oh, now I understand what is a pet peeve. I don't understand that. What is that?
Yes.
So for the next week, we need to do the speech. Oh,
The
previews.
speech is not due until November the 8th.
November 8th. But the
But you have to do-
preliminary is
you
in
have to-
August 2.
Say again?
But the preliminary is in.
Okay, so that you don't have to do. But if you're going to do it, I need to get it by that date. But you're not required to submit a preliminary. It's up to you if you feel like you don't know what you're doing.
So, but the day we need to give you
is November the 7th by midnight. November the 7th, you have to upload everything.
November 7th.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
November the 7th, and then that's when you have to upload the full text, the outline, and your bibliography. And then the next day, the 8th, that's when you're going to actually give your speech in class.
So for the next class, we don't have a homework, only is a test.
For next class, just the test. Don't come to class. Just at 10 minutes to 6, it's going to pop up. You'll see it in week 5 folder. And just click it on and start taking the exam.
For the test, for example, honestly, I don't buy the textbook. Only I take the note you teach. So you think is enough, or